So when I got this mower a year ago, my friend had bought new tires. We replaced the back two and the one in the front right. This one at the time was okay, but now there's a lot of dry rot. You can't really see it because it's raining and the tire's wet, but there's a lot of cracks now. Well, I don't know if you can see it, but there are cracks on there. Yeah, so I ordered that tire so that at least the front two would be the same manufacturer. Yep, this is it right here. Yeah, this is the new tire to match this one right here. Lo and behold, when I picked up the mower today, this one was flat. I've been running tire slime in here for about a season now. Put 14 pounds of air and it's right down to 12.5. So I'm gonna try to do the soap test, see if I can find anything. But that's not good. I don't wanna, yeah, the goal was originally to replace that tire. Now it looks like I'm gonna have to get another one for the front left as well. Was really trying to avoid that. So after 15 minutes it's down to 10. Again, it was originally 14. The soap bubbles don't really show anything, so I'm wondering if there's just like a gap around here. It is a pretty old wheel. Maybe I'll try to put some more slime in there and see if that helps. Originally last year, that's why I did, because even though it was a new tire, it was still slowly losing air. And at the time, that green slime kept it from losing air. So it might just be one of those things you have to add every season. Another thing I'm going to replace is this tie rod. It's bent. Unfortunately, I've jacked up on that tie rod one too many times and now it's crooked. So it kind of messed up the front end alignment on this tractor. So that's another thing I'm going to be taking care of while we're in there. Unfortunately, this frame is also crooked. That bolt is not tight and you can tell it's a little unlevel. If you jack it up, it'll straighten itself. And I did contemplate welding it back straight, but then, you know, that's kind of like a permanent fix. And if I ever need to take this apart, I won't be able to without going through a lot of hassle. So I decided to just leave it alone for now. This is my replacement tie rod. It's a OEM part. I just put a layer of primer and red paint on there to hopefully keep me from jacking on it again in the future. It is kind of hard to see underneath when you're using the floor jack. I'm assuming this is pretty typical, but that wheel didn't really want to come out. So I used a screwdriver to kind of just turn it sideways. And of course it still didn't come out. So I just used another pry bar. It's a little bit wider. Just, you know, keep working at it and just wiggling it out. At the same time, not letting it fall off the jack stands. But it came out. So I kind of made a boneheaded mistake. I didn't know there's an inner tube on this tire, even though it says tubeless. But I just used the valve stem remover from the green slime. I got rid of the rest of the air in there and now I think it should come out. It finally came out. Honestly, next time I'm just going to take it to a tire shop. So things just got interesting. I called 2 different tire shops and they told me that their machines don't work on wheels this small. Pretty much telling me to go pound sand. So, well, looks like the one I did yesterday, I punctured the tube trying to put it back in. The tube on the valve stem. This one, I don't even know if it has a tube inside. Both of them say the tire marking on both say tubeless, but for some reason one of them has a tube inside. So I'll probably have to open that one and see if that's the case as well. In the meantime, I'm going to work on the tie rod end. So since the alignment was pretty good to begin with, I'm going to do what I did when replacing these tie rod ends on the Evo. What I'm going to do is I'm going to count the number of turns here so that I have a rough idea of, you know, when I put the new tie rod in, that the alignment should be pretty close to what it was before as a starting point. So I shot open that nut on the top, that's a 14. And here what I was talking about earlier, I loosened the jam nut, and I'm just going to count the number of turns it takes to take this end off. And then when I reinstall it, I'll just thread it in the same number of turns. And that should keep the base alignment pretty similar. So I'm just going to do that really quick. Yep, this is 2 wrenches to loosen the jam nut. I'm using a 15 and I believe it's a 14. It actually might be 2 15s, but the nut's a bit rounded off. So after that, you should be able to loosen that. And I would put some lube or anti-seize on that because these tend to rust and seize up. Let's see if I can do this without holding my hand. Sure enough, this is the end of this is stuck on there, probably due to the rust. This is the kind of stuff that causes nightmares when working on cars. So I'm probably gonna put this in the vise and well, just force it out. So I finally got it. I had to use both a vise and this wrench to hold it straight. I mean, hold it still. Of course, it was still pretty tight. So I'm using something that I found online. 50/50 auto transmission fluid and acetone. You shake it up, spray it on the threads. Still didn't work, so I added a little bit of heat and was finally able to crack it open. So, yep, just a little tip, but be careful. You don't want to melt anything or melt the rubber here. As you can see, this is the old tie rod on the right, the new one on the left. I counted 11 turns on the tie rod end, so I'm going to use 11 on both sides. And that'll be the starting point for the alignment. So it's back in. I'm going to speak closer to the camera now because my microphone that I've been using just broke. That's the iPhone connector. It just pulled right out. Now that I'm jacking the tractor in the front, this is what I was talking about. Before, I was actually accidentally jacking by that tie rod. Mostly because I can't see it. A lot of rust on this rim, but still a lot less than the ones I've seen online. So I'm just gonna take a wire brush, low grit sandpaper, just knock down some of the rust. Put some primer and just touch it up. But the real goal is really just, aside from the rust, keeping it from getting worse, is getting any burrs out so that the new tube I get won't get punctured like this one did. Ironically, this wheel on the left was the one with slime. This one didn't even have a tube. And it's all clean, whereas this one that had the tube is all rusted out. I'm not sure how that happened. there were some rust spots that are pitted, so I wanted to bring that up to level so that when I put the tube around this, it doesn't nick or cut the tube. Then I'm just gonna follow it up with some typical Rust-Oleum. Just to update on the tires, I found out that they both have issues. One of the B's is just not sitting right, and the other one, the inner tube punctured. To make things easy, I'm just going to install an inner tube on both of them. A tip that I saw after watching a few YouTube videos, you actually don't have to remove the rim, but I didn't know that, so I actually removed the rim, entire rim. Putting it back on, the first time I tried, I used the irons to stuff it back in, but after watching a few videos, from what I saw, you could just push it back in. I'm not going to record getting this tube in because there's a lot better videos on YouTube on how to do this, but I would put a washer here under the valve stem cap to keep it from going back in while you're trying to finagle this into place. But yeah, I would just work slowly, and prior to putting it inside, I would run your hand inside and make sure there's no nails, staples, or anything that could pop the tube. Silly me, it looks like I put the rim on the wrong side, so I had to do it again. Whew. Yeah, this really sucks, but well, that's punishment for not paying attention. Okay, so after much blood, sweat, and tears, I finally got it. Well, one of them. Gotta make sure that, what's that thing called? Make sure the inner tube doesn't get pinched between the rim. And as you're inflating it, make sure you hold the valve stem, because if it pops back in, you're fucked. Okay, start 5, and then make sure everything's okay before we keep adding air to it, making sure that it's seating correctly. So I got the alignment equipment set up. These are actually used for actual cars, but it would be kind of hilarious if I tried using it on the riding mower. The spec calls for 1/8 toe-in. Caster and camber is not adjustable, which is expected. It's just a mower. First thing first, we fill up all the tire pressures to spec, and then all I'm going to do is take some measurements and then see what we get. It's not shown here, but you have to pull both of these tight, both the tape and the plate against the wheel and tire. I actually got a measurement that's exactly the same front to back. So what I'm going to do is jack it up, loosen the tie rod in, and we're going to thread this one. Let's see, if it needs toe-in, we're going to thread it out by a couple of turns, and that should give us the 1/8 that we need for toe-in. So after some adjustments, I have 35 flat, 35 even in the front, and 35 and 1/8 in the back. So that should be 1/8 of total toe-in. At this point, I'm just gonna lock up the jam nut, and that should be it. Thanks for watching.